7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome back to another episode of Niners and Friends. We're your hosts, Miriah, Ryan, and Beto. What's up, fellas? How you guys doing?
Wonderful.
Doing great. Great. Another day to talk about 49 football. So many things happening right now with all the owners.
Yep,
And
we actually
Thursdays.
have stuff to talk about, so it's good. Chat, what's up? Good to see you guys. Appreciate you guys being here. JDLR, Bebop, Bryant, Throwback. You're late, we're late, so hey, it's okay. Appreciate you guys. Hope everybody's doing well on this Tuesday. But yeah, like we said, there's the owners' meetings were this week, the last couple days. So we heard from John Lynch yesterday. We got to hear from Kyle Shanahan and Jed York today. So we have quite a few things to talk about. I figured we'd start with the most important thing, the thing on everybody's mind, and that's that they added the number 0 to the jerseys. So I know everybody was so excited that everybody's favorite players will now get to wear the number 0. Looks like Calvin Ridley will be the first one to sport that number 0. Also, kickers and punters will be able to wear now numbers 0 through 49 and numbers 90 through 99. So I don't know if you guys wanted to touch on that exciting news before we get on to anything else.
Punters 90 through 99?
Yeah, they can wear 0 through 49 and 90 through 99 now.
Okay.
Like college.
Who cares? This is what there's things that actually need to be changed in the league, and this is what they're voting on?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Wait. Can I ask each one of you what your most pressing thing you would want them to vote on today would have been?
Quarterback, having able to use that third quarterback in case your two quarterbacks go down.
Miriah?
I would agree. And I probably just because that's the most recent thing for us to go through, right?
Is there anything with rules you think they should be looking at?
Well, I'm sure if I were to look through stuff or think about it for a few, I could think of something, but
not off the top
of
of
head.
What
about you?
I don't know. I would like to see something done with the review process itself. Maybe I don't think you know how certain plays are reviewable and others aren't. I think there should be I think the review flag should almost be essentially a timeout at that point, and that the people in the booth should be continuously looking for essentially play altering things that happen play side. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, that's an important thing. And then also too, like the for defensive ends and D tackles, hitting the quarterback late or review that. Like if like the thing what happened with Nick Bosa where he got penalized for roughing the passer, it wasn't really roughing the passer. They should be able to review that and determine whether it was roughing the passer or not.
Or that other gentleman who just took the quarterback down. He didn't even fall on him. He just whipped him around. It was like one of the nicest sacks I've seen that you go to the ground with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He barely touched. You know what I mean? So, and he was that. To me, this is just it's nitpicky. I don't know. I think every time they change the rules in certain ways, they find that people are starting to get hurt in other ways. Yeah. And it's pick your poison at this point, or just keep moving around until you find one where you don't care about the injuries. The injury only lasts a week or something. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's going to happen. You're just going to keep going lower and lower and lower, until it's two-hand touch.
Yeah. It's sad that football's coming down to that possible realm that you can't do. You can't play football like the old days. I understand you have to take a lot of precaution. I understand the whole CT injuries and so forth, and they come a long way. But to a certain point, I understand that the quarterbacks are it's what makes the NFL, right? People want to watch these quarterbacks do their thing, but you can't be ticky tacky and certain, like the guy you said that fell on him. I mean, he could have just laid him down, hold him in his arms, and laid him down softly on the ground, and you still would have been called for roughing the passer, especially if it would have been Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers being dropped down. And then you have the Brock Purdy's that they don't call on because who is he? And that's so unfair.
And I could understand the whipping him down one if he'd whipped him into somebody. You know what I mean? Or something like that. But it was totally clear there's nothing happened.
Nope. It's ridiculous, man. It's like, I don't know what these guys are smoking over there. But it's all benefits the owners, though. Forget the players. It's what benefits the owners. How do we get money in our pockets? More money in our pockets.
Yep. Another rule that they, changed changed. Last year, we seen that the offensive line, the defensive line, tight ends, and linebackers wore those guardian caps in the preseason practices. Those
on the helmet,
the addition to the regular helmets that kind of added, that layer of protection on top. The NFL now expanded the use of those. It says the NFL expanded the mandatory use of guardian caps to the regular season practices and added running backs and fullbacks to the positions where the impact reducing shell helmet covers are required gear. So looks like, they'll be.
Who invented that, right?
Throughout.
Steve Wallace of the 49ers. Was it Steve Wallace? I'm thinking, or Bubba Parrott. No, Steve Wallace. Remember back in the 90s? He had that double shell.
Oh, you're talking about the same one like Dana Stubblefield had?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Back then, nobody used to do that. And he used to get so many concussions that he started wearing that extra. People made fun of him. But he played a while, never had a concussion after that.
I personally... go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I personally like it. I think it's for the players. I know the players don't like wearing it. But I think after a while, if you're able to show them stats and, show them how it's getting better, I'm sure they'll buy into it. Plus, this is the way I see it too. Any more weight that you can put on your head is just going to train your muscle to hold your helmet and your head up better during the game anyways. So if you're practicing with a little more weight on your helmet, that's just going to help you to be safe. Not to say that these guys need any help. They've worn a helmet for a very long time. Their muscles are probably strong. I'm just saying, I've never been scared of putting a little more weight on your helmet to get your neck a little stronger, to hold your head up when you're so tired, because that's the one thing, especially being on the line.
And this is why I dated bigger women.
Oh my God.
They stirred it.
Just kidding.
Yeah, that hit, that's one hit, I'll never forget, Damian Lee, that hit on Drew Brees from Ahmed Brooks.
Oh yeah,
you remember that?
Yeah, when his neck was all 5 miles long.
Man, yeah, that was a crazy. I know they've added to it in the memes now, but even before, they've extended it and stuff. That was still a crazy meme.
Yeah, that was something back then to look forward to, man. It was just, I seen that, I cracked up when I first seen that. I'm like, man, look at Ahmed Brooks just taking Breeze's neck.
Man, we had such a hard-hitting defense then, man. There are some thumpers. Remember, there is no way our defense would be able to get away with those kind of hits these days.
Not at all. They were trying to put you out of the game every time they contacted you.
Yeah, you could hear that, you'd be watching a game and could literally hear that just thump, 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 continuously, from the TV screen. That's how loud and crazy it was.
When has been the last time that we've seen a quarterback crawl on the ground the way Steve Young did against Arizona? prior to
Yeah.
his retirement. Remember, he was actually crawling on the ground because of being hit. You don't see that nowadays. Aaron's more like make sure his eyebrow didn't get or his hair got out of place.
Dude, that picture of him all discombobulated and his helmet like all messed up on the goal line. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's one of that meme of the century almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there are some funny ones. Yeah. Hey, Don, good to see you. Hittner, yeah, Hittner had
Oh.
some. Woo. So I think that's the only two. There might have been some other. I seen a couple rules that they didn't change. Some rules that were out there. I know the Rams had one that they were looking to change, and the Eagles that 15 yards instead of the kickoff or whatever. That one they didn't end up changing, but I didn't see any other rules that were changed. There might have been some, but I haven't caught them yet.
Pat McAfee was talking about one about kicking, and I didn't understand it enough to talk about it, but there is one that Pat McAfee was upset about, just for other people to go out and research.
Oh, okay. Let's start with some things. Where do we want to start? I guess let's start with John Lynch. But we're gonna hold off on the quarterback stuff. Let's start with Brandon Ayuk. We had, recently seen, Brandon Ayuk put that tweet out, talking about, 1,000-yard receiver on the fourth option. We didn't know if maybe they had told him something about his fifth-year option, whether it was not going to get picked up, whether they had, sent him some kind of offer, their first offer on contract negotiations, whether, who knows what the meaning behind the tweet was. John Lynch was asked about Brandon Ayuk's fifth-year option, and he said there's obviously still time, but he said that it makes sense for them to pick it up. So it sounds like they're going to do that. But he also said that Brandon Ayuk's one of the people on the team that when they're at all these meetings and the combine and all these places that the team gets asked about a lot. Whether he's available for trade. What are your guys' thoughts on that? We've kind of talked about this last week too on, a couple of our shows, if we would be, up for trading Brandon Ayuk. Obviously John Lynch said, and they always say this, we listen to everything, me and Kyle would be available for trade, yada, yada. They always say that same thing. But, he said, no, we want to keep Brandon. What at the end of the day, though, they could trade him. What do you think, though, that they end up doing with Brandon Ayuk?
Go ahead, Ryan.
I think, okay. They'll probably do the exact opposite of what I think because I think it's logical. You can't keep Debo and Brandon and sign Brandon Ayuk and have them both in the same room, not with the way Debo's contract's structured. So, I have a feeling Debo is part of the Cabo crew, and I think Jed York is paying for his ticket. And that makes me think that they'll probably just find a way to deal Brandon Ayuk, which I think is a mistake because he's actually a number one wide receiver. And I think I was talking earlier, the way we use Debo, I could see us motioning Christian McCaffrey out and using him almost in the same way. You know what I mean? Got vision. Just got to get him open in space, which Kyle draws that up anyways. Do we need two guys like that on the team? I'm not saying that Christian McCaffrey is just like Debo. Just saying that they got the vision, they got the hops and the determination. They go. Debo obviously a little thicker. He kind of leans forward a little bit more. He kind of Debo could get you that last yard. More so I think than Christian McCaffrey. I just don't see how you keep them both on the same team, and I see them dealing. Either they trade Debo to Miami so he could be with Mike McDaniels. Right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Just want to make there's so many damn names that all go
Yeah.
together.
Mike
Interswap.
McDaniels. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel. Yeah. And I think that's what they do, or they just, I don't know, find a home for Brandon Ayuk somewhere. I don't think they'll do him dirty, but I think
If they're trying to move any of those two players, man, the fact that Debo, in my opinion, is at Cabo hanging out is maybe they're trying to sell him for a higher price. Maybe they're trying to make other teams believe that he's the guy the Niners covet. That's the guy the Niners want to keep and don't want to move from, so that other teams would offer more. I think Brandon Ayuk is the better option. I understand that Debo, you can use him in many ways, but you need that number one type of receiver that can, keep the defense honest. The problem is we don't have a quarterback that is consistent enough to utilize a use skill set. With Debo, you can drop those little short passes and let him do the rest, and he flourishes in that. But you get that quarterback, whether it's whoever it is, but as long as they're stable and able to perform and do their job, I think Ayuk will be the more better receiver to have on this. Right, and they even used what's his name, Ray McLeod. I know he's a smaller and he doesn't have no way the body that Debo does. I'm not saying that, but they used him in that. Remember when Debo was hurt and they used him? I forgot what team it was they against, and he ran in for a touchdown. It kind of has a way to open up receivers in space. So. And they do have Christian McCaffrey. So I think Debo, hopefully they can keep both, but I doubt it. I think Ayuk should be the one that they should stay with and move on from Debo. I think they will give him, right at this point, they'll give up more for Debo than they probably would for Ayuk.
Yep. Everybody's well aware how I feel. Ayuk's my favorite player on the team. And yeah, I completely agree with both of you guys. You guys both brought it up, so let's go ahead and talk about that. The Cabo crew. John Lynch kind of dropped a little nugget about the Cabo crew and put it out there. Well, this is the first I had heard, first of all, that John Lynch is part of the Cabo crew. I had never heard his name, thrown out as being there, the last few years. And then that Jed is paying for the Cabo cruise vacation. So, that is kind of interesting to me because, he said, oh, Jed's, paying for, our Cabo vacation. So does that mean everybody on the team's getting invited if the boss is paying? Because if not, that's pretty fucked up. If it's only this select 10 people or how many ever it is, and the other, 50, 40, freaking how many ever, the rest of the team ain't freaking getting invited. The whole entire defense,
Well, it's only messed up if you're not part of the 10.
Yeah.
But, if you're part of the 10, they don't care. They're out there doing their thing.
And I don't know if Jed's paying for Debo, but I don't know that he's not. You know
John
what I mean?
Lynch said Jed was paying for the Cabo vacation.
He was saying, yeah, but I don't know if he was just talking about like the staff. You know what I mean? Like the coach. I don't know.
I have to agree there.
But at the same time, it could be both. I'm just saying, I just want to kind of make that clear and not jump to conclusion there.
But that would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Hey, Rod.
It's not like the damn players can't afford to pay for them. Those that are there can't pay for their own trip.
The ones that have been mentioned to be there, yes, that yeah, they could pay for their own, definitely.
Yeah, it's not like they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with my family? Can I feed them or go to Cabo?
That's why it would be like, why are you paying for Debo when he could pay for his own? Why don't you pay for, like a Diamador Lenore who played his ass off and isn't getting paid shit? You know what I mean? Like
essentially, the Barlow already paid for him. I'm not the Barlow. York already paid for them anyway because they gave him the contracts.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean? So they get the contracts.
I know what you're saying, but I'm talking about like a bonus at the end of the year. Like, this ain't on your check. Thanks for being a part of the team. You know what I mean? Like,
that's what I got from it. From the way John Lynch, when I heard the way John Lynch said it, that's the way it sounded to me. that was something that Jed was doing for, you know, the guys.
And John was just there because he was a chaperone. Make sure that Kyle doesn't get stupid gets too drunk and acts like a nerd.
John's the buzzkill.
Yeah, throwing footballs from 2 stories high to a house downstairs. But I don't know. I think companies always going to favor their top crew. Like if you're in the marketing business and you have your top sellers, you have your regular sellers and your top sellers. Bonuses, the bigger bonuses goes to the top sellers, and the smaller bonuses goes to those that they do okay. And I think that just goes into the corporate world of football. Debo's, whoever was there, I didn't even know who was there, but whoever was there, they considered their top players.
Trent Williams.
Jed spoke about spending $1 million this week to stay a week on the East Coast, and saying he would do that any day. So to me, I think $1 million at the end of season for some team building, bring everybody along, and it'd probably be cheaper than $1 million if you go down to Cabo. You know what I mean? But it depends on where you spend the money. But that's what's my thought was like.
Jed said he would pay $1 million per win if he could.
Yeah, essentially per day. Win. Yeah, per win, which is totally understandable.
So he's telling the NFL right there that he'll buy wins if that's what we got to do right now.
Well, think about it. How much you got 17 games in the regular season. It would be worth spending. What about you could spend
$20
million a game on just each game to try and be better. If you could find some way to spend like $3 million per game, that would be totally worth it if you won a Super Bowl, because you can recoup that money.
All right, let's take a little break because we're not going to get into quarterbacks yet. We're going to make you guys wait a little bit more.
That's probably good.
We're going to skip over to Jed York. It got, rumored out there right before Jed talked that the 49ers were borrowing $120 million from the NFL to fund upgrades to Levi's Stadium. They did ask Jed about that, and he says, yeah, obviously, you don't just want to upgrade or build. You don't want to just build a stadium pretty much and then never touch it. Meanwhile, other stadiums are getting built and upgrading and getting better. And you're just, pretty much going to have stadiums, outdo yours, which we already know all the new stadiums are outdoing Levi's as it is. And then he talked about, them wanting to have the Super Bowl there again. And I think it was Super Bowl 60, right? Yeah, because they had Super Bowl 50. And he says they're trying to get Super Bowl 60 there. They don't know for sure if, they will get that, but that's the plan. So I'm thinking, his plan, if he can get these upgrades in time done, that they'll get approved for Super Bowl 60. So we'll see how that goes.
That should be voted on in May.
Yeah. So we'll see. I haven't been to Levi's Stadium, but from all accounts that I've heard, it isn't the greatest.
Yeah, I've been there multiple times. It's the shading. It's not bad. It's just a scenario where the sun just kicks your rear end and there's no shade at all, man. So people don't sit on their seats. They walk around to get away from the so there's not enough noise being made because they're walking doing their thing, and they got to make sure they figure out a way to bring some shade to that side of the stadium. It's terrible the way they designed it.
Which was something he didn't address either. I believe he was specifically asked if the money was for more tubs, which is an item that was brought up on the NFLPA list. And then if you're not spending $120 million on some soaking tubs and some shade, what are you asking money for? You know what I mean?
To go to Cabo.
For the Cabo crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think maybe they can put like one of those retractable roofs, or
that'll be too much. That'll be too much post post production. You know what I mean?
Especially in California.
What are they going to be able to do then to be able to help with the shade?
The only thing I could
Put
think
a
of is like
awning,
a canvas awning, maybe
Yeah.
some sort of like partially be retractable,
canopy
so
or
you can.
something.
Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, they did ask him, oh, did you about that, report card, and he like, oh, I didn't really look at it. It's like, well, that's the whole point. You're supposed to
Oh,
be
he
looking
looked
at
at
it.
it.
Yeah, I know, but like you should have said, oh yeah, I looked at it. I saw what we should, what we can improve on.
Why
But
wouldn't
to
you want to
say,
make
yeah, to say, oh, I
those
didn't
tubs
really
are
look at
already
it.
there, guys?
It's like crazy.
We're gonna get an A next year in that, and we're gonna still be an A in everything else. I don't want you guys to worry. I'm taking care of this. Why wouldn't you want to be that?
Yeah.
It doesn't take that hard. It's not that hard.
Is there anything else that Jed talked about specifically that you guys want to talk about before we move on from him?
Yes.
All right. Go for it.
I'd like to shout out to
Hey, Christy.
Grant Cohn and Lowell Cohn, because today they brought this up and they thought it was ridiculous that when he was asked about like not being in the mix lately, not getting the Super Bowl, but being in the mix. And he seemed happy to just be a player and in the mix. And they brought up, if you would have said that to Eddie DeBartolo, he would have yelled at you. If you said that to Al Davis, he would have yelled at you. And Lowell said that deep down inside, Bill Walsh would have just freaked out on somebody over something like that, because you're not in it to be in the mix. That's for all the other suckers. You're in it to be the winner. You're in it so you want to be the ones everybody else looks up to every year at the end of the year. So shout out to them.
Now, you saying about being in the mix, though. I mean, if you're in it, you have a chance to win it. You got to be in it, right?
Right. But
you
shouldn't be happy and complacent with being there. You shouldn't be sitting there smiling. You should be saying, hey, it's great to be in the mix, but that's not where we're trying to be every year. You know what I mean? Something like that. Yes. Let me know that that's what you're thinking. You just said you're willing to spend $1 million per game. I like that. Now follow it up with, fuck that. We're Super Bowl winners. We just haven't gotten there yet. Anything else is a loss. I don't want to be in the mix. I want to be the exception. Or I want to be the rule, not the exception. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they're in the mix is good, but if they're settling just for that, and that's all that drives them, it shouldn't be it. It should be Super Bowl or bust. Bill Walsh, Eddie DeBartolo, that's all. I mean, it was Super Bowl or bust. They built teams like, especially like the '94 team they built it for Super Bowl or bust, and they got their ring. Kind of like what, I hate to say this, but kind of like what the Rams did. Now they oversold and bought a bunch, now they're paying for it. And I think they're going to get a taste of our 94 season. We paid all these players back then to win a Super Bowl. We won it, and we haven't won one since. You know what I mean? And, but yeah, you have to sell to your players that winning championships, NFC championships, isn't enough. I acknowledge that you get there. I mean, getting to 3 NFC championships in the tenure of Kyle is not something to look at, but look down at. But the fact that we only made it to 1 Super Bowl is not enough. We got to get now credit to Kyle and the team. I mean, the whole thing that happened to Brock Purdy wasn't like, you know what I mean? That sucked. I mean, it wasn't like, you can't really put that on Kyle or the team, or York. But it's just, I'm just so tired of it. I want to get over the hump. I'm tired of just tasting mediocrity and not getting above it. It's like, enough is enough. I want another Lombardi. I know personally, I know how it feels. I experienced 5 of them, and it felt good. It felt good to brag as a fan. My team's the best team in the NFL for a whole year, and a lot of Niner fans deserve that.
Yeah.
Our players put so much into being at the top of their game. It's almost a crime for them never to eclipse that point. You know what I mean? Like they spend every year trying to figure out how somehow they can get just this much better to get themselves when when things could probably be run a little better, you know what I mean? And they'd already be there and wouldn't be beating themselves in the off season about a couple of plays in an NFC championship or, somewhere in a regular season game that could have given them a home field advantage in the playoffs. Like, that's not what they should be doing. They put in so much goddamn time. I mean,
yeah, all the work that Trent Williams puts in, he deserves a freaking Super Bowl. You know what I mean? All the stuff that he has to deal with his body and training, and just he doesn't do all that just to get to the NFC Championship. I guarantee you that.
That's what I was just thinking. When you're Trent Williams or when you're Fred Warner, when you're one of these guys that you're already the very best at your position, when you're the best of the best in the entire world at what you do, and you have to somehow look yourself in the mirror and say, how do I get, 1% better at what I'm doing every single day so that I can go back and do this again for another year to try to get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, and then we wonder why, Trent Williams is contemplating retiring. It's like these guys put a lot every single day, what they get to, you figure once the season ends, and if you're going deep into the season, like playoffs, and you figure if you go to the Super Bowl and say you lose, right? That's deep into the season. You get to maybe have 2 weeks, 3 weeks that you get to hang out, go to Cabo, whatever you get to do. And then you're right back training, right back to the gym, to, putting only good shit into your body, right? Like all this stuff that the rest of us hate doing for the most part, right? Like they have to do 340 days out of the year. Like that's not fun. That's not easy. Yeah, they get paid great money, but like they're beating up their bodies for the rest of their lives. Like, they're taking away the time from their families, from their kids, from everything. Like it's crazy. It's definitely a crazy occupation.
And at one point, do they start kind of looking around and going, man, I have just been thinking it's me the whole time. You know what I mean? I've been trying to get better. We got all these guys who are just at the top of their form. Maybe it's someone else. And then they start looking with the inside, and that's not good. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Not saying that's happening, but,
Well, I had saying something real quick. Oh, Don, tell the girls we said hello. She said the girls had just came into the room for a minute. And then, what's up, Jesus Christ, my King, has said, what ex-49er player do you guys miss the most? I miss Frank Gore. Let's answer this real quick.
I could really use Charles Haley right now, but I mean, Cowboy, Justin Smith right now would also be amazing. And Alden Smith might be a little bit amazing.
I'm always rooting for my guy, Brian Young.
Okay.
We might got that. We might have it now with the guy that we just picked up, but
Javon.
That's gonna be hard. We got to get rid of Kinlaw, man.
I'm just, you know what I've resorted to? I only know Javon's now, and if I mess up on the other one's name, that's just. I'm sorry, you should have produced.
Yeah, Javon earned his name. Javon hasn't.
I have to concentrate on this. He'll be on the team longer.
Frank Gore is my favorite past 49er. So, but if I were to pick one that, let's say I'm going to pick a player that I think, the current team could, benefit the most from, I'm going to pick a quarterback because that's what we've struggled the most to find as of late. So, and I'm going to pick Steve Young.
Oh, come on. That's my favorite.
So that's who I would currently, if I could pick, Steve Young in his prime to put him on this team and get us, our 6th Super Bowl, that's who I would be picking right now.
I think my favorite 49er over all time is probably Ronnie Lott. And it's because he had his finger amputated You know what I'm saying? To me, I
Yeah.
take that as he gave a piece of his body for us, and that takes a lot of dedication. So
Hell
to
yeah.
me, he's always number one. Because Jerry Rice is number two, because he put up all them stats, man. And Steve Young's number three, and Joe Montana keeps slipping. He just keeps on slipping.
Yeah.
Especially if
Bitter
he keeps
old
talking to the
man.
media the way he's been talking, he's
Oh,
going to slip
God.
even further.
Gosh.
Keep your
Somebody,
mouth shut, Joe.
he needs to smoke some weed. Somebody get him some weed brownies. You know what I'm saying?
Jennifer,
And
you
so-
need to get him laid again.
Dude, some weed brownies and some Bob Marley music, and just let him love some people again. Jesus Christ. No woman, no cry. Haggard
So the
old
chat
man.
said Alden Smith, Frank
Mhm.
Gore was amazing.
That's
Ronnie Lott,
interesting, though.
Ronnie
Tornado of
Lott,
all time.
Merton Hanks,
All wonderful names.
Steve Young.
You could make a great case for every single one of those players, and that just means that we have a hell of a history in this franchise.
So Kid says, once this organization trade Buckner, I lost faith in the front office. Why trade Buckner when you turn around and a DT, big money a couple of years later? Shaking my head. I think you're not. I mean, we talk about this a lot, but I'll tell you, you're not the only 49ers fan that feels that way. That's for sure.
But it was a money thing. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like they didn't want Buckner. They made Buckner an offer in 2018. They offered him, but Buckner wanted, and rightfully so. He wanted more money. He thought he deserved it. The Niners just couldn't do it on the plan that they were looking at the time. The money hasn't gone up the way it has gone throughout the years. It's a whole situation and back then than it is today. People need to understand that. I would have loved to kept Buckner, but and people always say, well, they should have kept Buckner and got rid of Armstead. But Armstead is more for what the Niners need. Armstead is more beneficial to this defense than Buckner. And people don't understand that. And people that just love Buckner never will understand it. We're now that accept it. And for the price, he was also willing to work with the team. Not only can he provide more, but he was able to take money more towards the end of his contract compared to Buckner. Buckner wanted it right now, and the Niners just couldn't do it. So they traded him.
So and the reason why they come back now is because they were able to wrangle the one guy. So 49ers use a 4-3 defense. 4-3 defenses are susceptible to the run. Not only that, they use the wide nine, which is even more susceptible to the run. So if you want to use the wide nine in a 4-3 defense, and not give up tons of run yards, you need a certain type of personnel. Eric Armstead is that. Buckner wasn't.
Yep.
That's why it was so important to, and look, kid, I was just like you. At the time, I thought this was ridiculous. And through, I guess I would say the past year, through talking to people, doing research and all this, that's my philosophy. It was all just because we needed personnel to plug the run game in our 4-3 wide nine defense. And the reason why we're paying for Javon now is because now we're in the situation where we need to capitalize off that other tackle spot. And we've already got that other tackle. We need to prioritize that other tackle spot now to kind of get us over the edge, because at that time we had what we thought was another fancy end on the other side. Now we're not in that situation. And now we feel we probably have somebody who could work in the building on the edge, and Drake Jackson and maybe some of these guys that we brought in, but we knew we needed a stud at defensive tackle to be able to get after the quarterback on passing downs.
There you have it.
Christy says, hell yeah, I heard weed brownies.
All right, let's get into the quarterbacks. So John Lynch was asked, about the quarterbacks.
Sorry, Don.
And he says that Brock is the leader of the clubhouse. Kyle Shanahan was then obviously asked, pretty much the same thing today. And he had said pretty easy, if Brock was healthy, because the way that Brock played last year, he'd be the starter going into it. And then, they had asked, obviously, if Trey Lance, if he was able to is he going to be able to win the starting job back, since he's not going to have, the regular season games, the 7, 8, 9, 10, how many ever games to, win it. And Kyle said, it's going to be hard, but, it's not impossible. So, kind of in with that too, John Lynch seemed to keep throwing out there that Brock Purdy he had said our hope that he'll be ready to go by training camp. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Kyle Shanahan was asked about that today and walked that back pretty quick, and said, we don't know when he'll be ready. Could be week 1, could be week 4, could be, we don't know. So, I don't know. Let's kind of talk about, the leader of the clubhouse thing, and kind of talk about, I want to know how you guys feel. Do you guys feel like maybe Brock Purdy, like they're putting a little bit too much pressure and rushing Brock Purdy back?
I don't think Kyle is. It seems like Kyle's very understanding of what's going on. It seems like he knows that he needs to not even push it.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like John is like, I don't know, like he's Twitter pated. Holy shit. Sorry, Don. It's like
I'm not there.
Okay. It's like he's just like so overcome, like he can't keep his new girl out his mouth. You know what I mean? Like, I would start that new relationship and you guy talking to your people, and then every story reverts back to your new love interest. Yeah, that's like, I think it's kind of unprofessional, because this is like, remember what happened with Jimmy and his contract, right? 5 games, boom, here you go,
Yeah.
set the market, and here we are again. We're talking about 8 games. 8 games. I made this argument last night. I said, Brock Purdy, yeah, he did a great job this year. He's also injured and can't really take advantage of this off season to kind of work on any sort of issues or Achilles heels he might think he might have. So you're talking about this whole off season, teams are looking at his tape right now, trying to figure out who he is. By the time he gets back under center, he's going to be essentially that same quarterback as last year, not taking any steps towards being a new Brock Purdy. And they could have already figured him out. You know what I mean? We don't know what's going on. I have no idea. So I think we just need to pump the brakes. When he's ready, he's ready. We'll talk about that. Once the doctor says, hey, you can go suit up and play with the rest of the guys, let's talk about it. Until then, it's a mute topic, I think. Because I don't even want him to think he needs to get back soon. The reason being is I don't want him to think he has to overdo it in practice, or not in practice, but in rehab, to try and, accelerate the process. That's not good for him. That's not good for his career. If he loses any strength off that arm, he is in trouble, because as you age, you don't get stronger, you get weaker. So he needs every ounce of strength he has, and he needs to just take the path. Don't worry about how long it takes to get there. Just make sure it's a nice, good path. No bumps.
Hey, Jess.
I gotta just honestly, and it's unfair for Brock Purdy, but again, if a Trey or Sam Donald can hold the ship straight and win games, they'll be patient with Brock. The fact that if Trey struggles and Sam Donald is not who they thought he was when they brought him in, or can't do what they needed him to do, the pressure will be on Brock to come in sooner rather than later. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because you don't want to hurt Brock. And Brock is eager to come early. You gotta protect Brock from himself, because he has something to prove. He wants to be that starter. He's coming from the 7th round, last pick overall. So if you ask him, are you good to go? Guess what he's going to say? Later, Don. He's going to want to come
Don.
in. she's leaving, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she said.
She said that your mouth got her
Yeah,
to leave with her kids. No, her kids were not even in the room.
Mm-mm.
I guess they have a snowstorm coming. Stay warm, stay safe.
Yep. Stay safe.
Yeah, it's the weather's been crazy. She's not that far from me, but yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully, Trey Lance can step up and whatever he's been doing this offseason, it pays off for him. I would love him to see him succeed. I would love for them to be patient with Brock and protect Brock from himself. But you're right, right? I don't think it's Kyle. I think if anything, it's John. And then and it's York's breathing down John's neck. And Kyle's like, hey, we can make it work with Sam. But I wouldn't be surprised, and people can hate me for this, but I wouldn't be surprised if week one starter is Sam Darnold over Trey. And it sucks that it would be that, but it's a possibility.
Real quick, what's up,
Thanks,
Rohan?
What up,
Hey,
Rohan?
Lauren.
What's up, Rohan?
Hey, Robin.
What up, Robin?
What's up, Joe?
Joey E. What's up?
Says the monkey jumped off Young's back in '94, and now it's been on steroids, morphed into a silverback gorilla with Kyle Shanahan in a full ass Nelson.
Oh, crap.
That's
Freaking
pretty
Steve
accurate,
Young.
Joe. Pretty
Yeah.
accurate, Joe.
We also heard that from Kyle Shanahan, pretty much that Trey Lance and Sam Darnold will be splitting first team reps. So pretty much they're going to be competing. What do you think? Trey Lance was pretty much, had the job last season, right? He's the QB1 of the San Francisco 49ers going into week one. Going into week two, he gets hurt, loses his job to injury. Pretty much that's what happened, right? Now, essentially, we're being told that the job is Brock Purdy's. And Trey Lance is pretty much competing for the backup spot with Sam Darnold. If Brock Purdy was healthy, but Brock Purdy ain't healthy. So what do you think that this does to a 22-year-old's confidence at this point?
Just this move or the whole cluster
Like
fuck
the whole
before it?
cluster, everything.
Okay. Yeah. Beto, do you want to go or?
No, you go, bro.
I don't know. It depends on the 22-year-old. I'm not inside Trey's brain. I don't think many 22-year-olds would be able to handle this, especially when they've probably done everything in their power to do things right. And they've probably seen ways that the person who is in charge of their whole career has probably mismanaged their talents. And he's probably down in the dirt about that. I like how he's like, yeah, Trey and Sam Darnold, they'd be competing. And then somebody's like, so do you expect Trey to win that? Well, yeah, Trey probably win that. He's been in the system for a year and a half now. He's, 2 years now. He should know the system pretty well. I don't even know if I'm trying to have Darnold. If I'm trying to have Darnold in competition starting off. I want to make sure he's not seeing ghosts. Why are you? He ain't got no Dan Aykroyd. You know, he needs to figure his own things out. He needs to build a good, solid foundation. I think it's good for him to be here with Brian Greasy. I think Kyle's comments. Oh, I think we'll talk about that a little bit later about the quarterbacks. The amount. I just. It doesn't seem like. I like him being here for the competition. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want him. I don't want Darnold sitting there competing when he's still, freaking out about ghosts. Just get him built up on some good foundation with some regular drills. Make him go against the third string defense. You know what I mean? And then start easing them in and bringing them in. See what you got to meet. Don't just throw them in there. Like, I don't think he's got everything right yet.
Based on the way he played the last few games in Carolina, once they decided to go to run heavy offense in Carolina, Sam Darnold looked pretty decent. He looked pretty good managing the game when the ball was more on the running back's hands. I don't know. When people tell me they brought in Sam Darnold to be strictly the third string quarterback, I thought people were idiots by even mentioning that. You don't bring Sam Darnold just to be the third string quarterback. They have him from 1 year, and I don't know, whatever reason, they don't have their full confidence in Trey. The management does. Why they traded for him, I don't know. Maybe they got something different than what they were looking at. Maybe they didn't do their due diligence correctly. I don't know what it is. But the fact that they don't have complete confidence in him and bringing Sam Darnold, they want to see them compete. Is it fair to trade? No. I want to make it clear on that. But they want to see what Sam Darnold can do too, because if Sam Darnold can beat out Trey, then there's decisions to be made which of those players they keep and they go next year. And it sucks. But with that said, iron sharpens iron. So if Trey really wants this and this is his job, then you just come in with your head down, work hard, do your thing, man, and prove everybody wrong. Prove me, prove everybody, that all the negative people wrong that's talking crap about you, and just do your thing and show the world, show the Niners organization that you were the reason why they went after you. And if you can do that, it's a lot of pressure. But it's on his shoulders. He has the opportunity now that Brock is hurt. And if Brock would have been hurt at all, we have been talking completely different. But since Brock is hurt, listen, no fault to Brock of his own. When he came in, he took advantage of his opportunity. He did what he needed to do when his name was called upon, and they fell in love with him. Trey, just like how they fell in love with Brock, let them fall in love with you all over again. Show them what you're made of. Show them what you can do. Show them why they drafted you in the first place, and we will be having a different conversation later on. So this is really his job to lose, in my opinion.
No, but doesn't Kyle have this all in his hands? Isn't he the puppet master here? Can't Kyle decide to just run him into the ground again like he did last season? And if he wants, well, I'm just think about it. Also, like, imagine you have to trade Trey Lance away and you can't get even a first round pick for him, right? So then and he goes somewhere else and he shines, right? Now you're the guy who gave up 3 first round picks for him. He goes somewhere else, becomes an MVP, maybe, wins a Super Bowl or something like that with another team. And you're the guy who traded him away for less than a first round pick and couldn't do with anything. And you're an offensive genius. That's one thing. I'm not saying Kyle's going to poke a hole in his tire. I'm just saying there is stuff in it for Kyle if Trey never produces well ever in his career.
Let me ask you guys an honest question. If Trey just let's say for whatever reason he doesn't work out, he gets traded, and he just always winning a lot of games for another team. He's winning games. He's doing great. And we gave all those packages to get him, right? But with Brock, we have won already 2 more Super Bowls. Do you honestly give a shit what we give up for Trey and how well or Trey is or isn't doing on another team if you already have 2 more rings with Brock?
No, but if you don't, then you're sitting around not having.
But we don't know either way. We don't know if Trey's going to go to another team and become really good either.
Right, but in the future you'll be able to see it, and that also would be a reason why Trey. But that could be a thing that could come back to get Kyle to lose his job, maybe.
If Brock doesn't work out, you're right. But if he does work out, no. Andy Reid was about to get fired in Kansas City until 2019 when he beat us, and that saved his job. Otherwise, if we would have lost that game against us, I don't know if he would have been there in Kansas City. They probably would have fired him. And by keeping him and winning, he would have won the second a Super Bowl there. That's how
Was there
cruel
reports? Was there reports on that, or is that just your
Yeah,
feeling
the
on the
media-
situation?
no reports from
Okay.
people that I talked to that covered Kansas City.
Okay.
The
We
same
remember- we
reports
don't hear a
that
lot of-
Eddie D's buying the Commanders.
Yeah, no, not that report.
I had just never heard
That
that,
was
so I
my
just
report.
wanted to. I just
No,
wanted to
th-
know where you're getting from.
These are people that cover Kansas City,
Okay.
close that I've been reading. 'Cause I like to read about other teams, how they're doing, what they're doing, just to kind of get a feel, especially the NFC West. But I only read about him a lot because I like Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid is truly unappreciated coach. But yeah, that's what they were saying. If you listen to a lot, also to what's his name, Smith, something Smith, I forgot his name, from ESPN. He mentioned it too. I mean, a lot of people have talked about it, but the fact is that he won the Super Bowl, and now everything is history. If the Niners move on from Trey and Trey does really, really well, but Brock is doing as good for us and we're winning games and we're winning championships, it wouldn't matter. If Trey does really good in another team and we're struggling with Brock and we're in the same boat, like for example, Kinlaw. If Kinlaw would have been never hurt and he would have played like a freaking Pro Bowler, I guarantee nobody that misses Buckner right now would have missed Buckner. Let's just be honest. Everybody that hates the Buckner trade would not even mention it if Kinlaw was killing it. The fact that Kinlaw is not killing it and he's always hurt, it just amplifies how much stupid we look for trading Buckner, right? This is going to be the same thing with Brock. If we trade Trey and Brock doesn't do nothing for us, we're going to be in the same boat that we are right now with Kinlaw. If Brock is killing it for us, nobody's going to miss Trey. And that's just, it sucks if you like him personally, but nobody's going to miss him.
Unless he meets you in the NFC championships or in the Super Bowl and you lose to him. There's things. Look, I'm for the 49ers. But one thing I don't like is losing all that capital. Think about it. We could have a right tackle right now. We could have ourselves another tight end. You know what I mean? For all that capital.
Or we could have drafted 2 more Kinlaws that didn't
which would
work out.
probably have happened. But do you see what I'm saying? Like,
exactly. Yeah, but they could have, should have, would have. I mean, I could have did so many things differently. They would have.
I could have been rich right now.
Yeah.
Right. But with how if they would have turned those first round picks into just multiple 5th round picks,
But Ryan, we're talking about things that could have, but it didn't happen.
Right.
Did you like the Trey Lance? Did you like the Niners going enough to get Trey Lance? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, so at that point, it wasn't stupid to move up.
No. But I didn't know how he was going to be used. So now that I look at it and see how he was implemented into the system, I think it was a total waste of picks. Because if you're not gonna utilize him towards his strength, then you shouldn't have gone and got him whatsoever. You should have probably stayed where you were at and tried to just get Mac Jones where you were. And if not, you should have just rolled with Jimmy or figured something else out. And you know what I mean? They
were getting someone. It's like, have you ever been on a blind date?
Right, but we went over this last night.
Girl tells you she looks like Monroe and doesn't look like Monroe when you see her. You're like, holy shit, who are you? That's not the picture you showed me.
This isn't a date, Beto. If on your dates you're getting married on the first night, then
some people have done it.
Well, in certain religions, yeah, that's a thing.
No, not to do with the religion. It's alcohol can be also a player. That you meet someone in Vegas, and by the end of the night, you're married.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying.
Nothing to do with the religion.
It's a little more serious than just.
But I know where you're coming from.
Yeah, when you're drafting a first round player, you're talking about you immediately have 4 years of their next playing ability years with a 5th year option. So you could have that person for essentially what could be, I don't know, if they lived to 100 years, 1/20th of their life, and in their prime. You know what I'm saying? And if you're gonna go up and pick somebody, whether they're the present that you wanted or not, if you're not going to try and figure out how to make it work so you can utilize that capital that you spent on them, to me, that's showing no respect for the fans, the organization, none of that, because you didn't treat it with, you know, the respect that it's supposed to be given, essentially. Like that's how if you do things right, a lot of first round picks, now this isn't our luck, but a lot of first round picks can help out teams. The Texans are great with them. Or not the Texans, but the Cowboys. The Cowboys are great with them. They got a whole bunch of first round picks on their line, and they do great stuff with them. But that's not us. But why not strive to get better?
Trey Lance was the starter last year, was he not?
Yes.
They made him. He was QB1. They were going forward with him. They were going forward with their investment. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Then Jimmy came in. Jimmy was just temporary. We were going to eventually move on from Jimmy. We knew that. Surprise to, let me put it this way. If Brock did not perform the way he did, and he was just a 7th round pick, we would not be having this discussion. It would have still be Trey's, and they will continue to be forced to work with Trey in that investment. But the fact that Brock came in and did and performed the way as well as he did, he surprised the Niners in the way he performed. They fell in love with that. And now they're like, okay, we know we gave up this much for Trey, but we didn't know what we had really in this kid. Now that we saw what we had in this
still
kid,
don't know what you have in that kid. You don't know what you have in either kid.
They know they have more in him than they did in Trey.
You don't know that at all. You don't know that you have that at all. Everything that Brock put on film last year could be negated this year.
Same thing with Trey.
What, his 2 games and running up the middle could be negated?
Whatever he puts. Okay. You got to stop with the middle stuff.
You're right. You're right.
The middle stuff. Do you think Kyle really put him in?
What do you think happened to Jimmy?
Jimmy deserves what he got. I don't care about Jimmy.
Jimmy got put in a box because everybody figured him out. We are not out of the window of figuring out whether Brock Purdy can get put in the same box. Everybody talks about he's the same guy. Hey, how about we just all pump the brakes, bruh?
But we hungry for a quarterback.
But what?
I can say the same thing. Why don't you pump the brakes on Trey?
I am.
No, you're not.
What are you talking about?
Advocate for him.
I'm an advocate for him getting a chance to prove something while the other guy is out. Holy shit.
And you're right. And didn't I say that earlier? If he comes in with the head down and does his job and proves to the he deserves that, I'm not.
Did I argue with you?
No. But I want to make sure I'm clear that it's not like I'm choosing Brock over Trey. Like if Trey comes in and blows that out of the water, I'm not going to sit there. I don't care how good Trey does. I still want Brock. Then that's me kissing his ass. But it's not about that. It's about what gives the Niners a better chance of winning. I want a ring, whether that's Santa Claus, Mary Poppins, or Brock or Trey bringing it. I don't care. I wear the emblem. I have the emblem tattooed, and I support the emblem. Do the Niners make stupid mistakes? Of course they do. I've been married 30 years, and I'm surprised my wife hasn't left me because of my stupid mistakes. But I've learned through my mistakes and hopefully gotten better, and that's why I'm still married. I think the Niners have made their mistakes, and they're learning from it and going forward. As long as they don't keep making the same mistakes over and over again, I'm okay with that. It sucks that Trey got.
We've seen they do make some of the same mistakes over and over again, though.
We all do, though, don't we?
Well, even when it's notoriously obvious, they still keep on doing it. Injured players, they're really bad with their first round picks.
Now, talking about picks, do you know the Niners have better picks? Last year's
NFC I know all those facts you're about to say, from the 5th round all the way to the 7th round. Yes, I got you.
And that's what matters.
That's what I'm saying. If you could take those first round picks and turn them into a bunch of 5th to 7th and 6th round picks, imagine where we could be right now, because they've got they hit. And you're talking about those are cheap players. So you could essentially keep more talented key players that cost more in more positions. Like imagine having a Brandon Ayuk and a Deebo Samuel, because you were able to pick up more 5th and 6th round picks and have them playing on your team. Huh?
Those were 1 and 2, not 5th round picks.
Right,
was
but
a
what
second round pick
I'm
and
talking
Ayuk
about
was a
money on in the cap allotted to the wide receiver room. If you're paying a whole bunch of rookies or sorry, people on their rookie contracts instead of people on their second contracts who can make 1 mil, 1.5 mil, 2 million, 3 million. If you're able to continuously go get, you know, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders and multiples in those rounds to replace certain people on your team, essentially after a year, you can get tremendously cheap in positions.
and you're right. This year we gave how much we gave up a lot for McCaffrey, and I'm glad they did it because I love the McCaffrey trade. But
I
yet
liked it.
we still have 11 picks,
That's why it's so amazing. Think about
right?
it. And the value of it was 4 first, essentially. Look what we got in return. It got us to the NFC champion. It like guaranteed us a ride to the NFC championship. And
Yep. And we still
yeah,
have 11
no.
picks at our best rounds that we like to pick from.
And I want to go on the record and say that my first initial reaction on that was, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. But then I thought
And
about
that's
it for
natural.
a couple of hours and I was like, well, it's Christian McCaffrey. Like, if he can stay on the field for, you know, 3/4 of a season, that's perfect. That'll get you into the playoffs. That'll get you know what I mean? I'm fine with that. Just be healthy for the playoffs, you know?
And he was a great value to us. The fact that the Niners are able to turn in coaches into head coaches, you know, especially with the black descent, and he's not able to become head coaches, and they can get those third round picks for them. It's amazing how they can do that by developing coaches. I'm trying to use I can't think of the word minority coaches. Sorry, you know, they turn minority coaches into head coaches, and you know that's great. Kyle Shanahan teaching and developing, and now we get these 3 round picks in the third round. And now we have, because essentially we lost our 4th pick for McCaffrey, but we really did it in a sense because that 3rd round pick, even though it's the lowest of the 3rd, is still higher than the 4th. You know what I mean? So we have a 4th back in a way. In the 2 we lost the 2 though. The 1 and 2 we say we lost, but we got our 3, we got our 4, and then we got our 5s and 6 and 7. So did we really lose much? And yet we were able to bring in Christian McCaffrey. The way that this team maneuvers and does things to, even though we take risk with the trade rounds and give up 3 first round, you know, we still are able to plenish our roster by having multiple picks in the later rounds, and they develop their picks. They're not like the Rams. They develop their picks into great players. And not only that, but they bring players in this draft, not for this season, but for the following season. And this is a great thing that Kyle and John Lynch should do in this organization. It keeps us afloat. So even when we do make a mistake, if it is a mistake with Trey, we can get by it because of what they do in the later rounds.
I don't know if you guys seen this tweet from Larry Krueger, and he was retweeting what Rap Sheet said on the NFL Network. He said that we don't know about what Trey Lance is going to be. If he continues this trajectory that he's been on, then Sam Darnold is more than likely not to be the 49ers starters going into the season. So he heard that out of everything that we heard from Kyle Shanahan. Okay. And Larry Krueger underneath it, he's got a whole bunch of eyeballs, and it says, my interpretation is somebody likely whispered something to Ian. So he's saying for Ian to have this like strong of a take over something that obviously was not said that way, there must be something whispering in the back rooms, and that's what he's hearing.
Interesting.
Which makes sense because to me, that was when I saw that, I thought this is just at best, it's lazy reporting. At best.
Yeah.
If at worst he's totally lying about something, or he lying about something to get a certain type of a reaction or movement or something like that, or he's being honest, but it's not evident as to why or how he heard this.
And all those choices that you just brought up can be honest, can be true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if is it lazy reporting? Is he trying to stir the pot where he doesn't need to stir? You know what I mean? What's his agenda behind that statement?
Right. Anytime you have an agenda, I already don't like it. You know what I mean? Because to me, you have an agenda, coming at me with an agenda makes me think you're trying to manipulate me, because that essentially what his agenda is made for. And I'm not about that.
Yeah, it's not about the team. It's not about. It's about you or the individual.
It's about something somebody's trying to pull.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Okay, let's talk about this 3 quarterbacks thing. Kyle Shanahan was asked about carrying 3 quarterbacks. He kind of talked about shortly, they're still coming to a conclusion whether they're going to change that rule or not. And then he talked about, in his 20 years of coaching, that it's only happened 1 out of 1,000 times, yada, yada, 1 out of 20 years. Bobby
That's
T,
wrong.
it's only happened to him 1 in 45 years. You kind of, Ryan, specifically had some kind of issue with this subject, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, well, I think, how do you go through a season like last year and just automatically go, yeah, I want to be in the same situation where Josh Johnson's the guy taking handoffs in the NFC Championship. Now, I do have a feeling Kyle's going to take some quarterback in the draft, and he's going to stash him on the practice squad, and it won't be anybody special. And that will be not the Josh Johnson, but that will be the just in case, you need like, if he needs the 3 quarterbacks in the NFC Championship, you'll have the guy brought up with the practice squad. You'll have your Josh Johnson, and then you'll have your Sam Darnold or your Trey Lance or your whoever's the other one. I don't know.
I do agree with you stashing a quarterback, but I don't think he's going to draft one. I think they're going to take one an undrafted free agent. But to your point, I think they're going to try to develop one and stash them, hopefully, and use them that way. But yeah, I hope they pass this 3 quarterbacks. It's unusual to go through 4 quarterbacks. I mean, look how reckless Josh Allen plays in Buffalo. It doesn't get hurt. And how does that team not lose their quarterback as reckless as he plays, and yet we go through 4 quarterbacks in one season? It doesn't happen. Even if Kyle tried to run him to the floor, it just doesn't happen. It won't happen again, bro. It's just crazy.
And I believe he's wrong about saying that he's never gone through that many quarterbacks in a season before, because if I remember correctly, when whoever wrote down the little thing on the quarterbacks that year, there was 1 or 2 years that he, other than this last year, that he had 4 quarterbacks see the field. And whether you're saying you had 4 quarterbacks go out, okay, 4 quarterbacks. And if you think about it, your 5th quarterback was your 3rd. So, that's a lot. It's a lot.
When your running back has to be the quarterback, bro, it's terrible.
And then when you can't figure that out, like, okay, all right. Okay. So Kyle, you're not going to have a 3rd quarterback. Okay. So what kind of a backup plan are you going to have when both your quarterbacks go out in a game? That's all I want to know now. If you're not going to do that, okay, that's fine. You've made that decision. I can understand how you think that having 3 quarterbacks on any certain game can hinder your chance of putting out the best team at any given point. I get that. Okay, so how are you going to game plan for disaster? Because we've seen it happen, and we don't want to be standing around looking like, what, this happened again? Instead of, okay, we know what to do. You know what I mean? Like,
could you imagine?
I'm sorry.
To your point, they did bring some big boys this offseason, and these linemen they brought in 350 pounds.
It's because we're changing our run game.
Yeah, well, because honestly, the kid from LSU, what's his name, Price, he's not an outside the hash runner. He's not a freaking Raheem Mostert. He's not that fast. He's in between the tackles.
Nobody coming out of college really is an outside zone guy like the Raheem Mostert. So we're pretty much, it's Raheem Mostert was like
He's an
the
outlier.
well, you know how we had to go get, like what I was saying, we had to keep Eric Armstead because in the 4-3 defense and the wide 9, it's all about
Correct.
personnel. Same thing with Mostert in the outside zone in this system. He was the personnel that you had to have to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally him. I'm sure there's somebody in the league who could do what Eric Armstead does. You know what I mean? But I don't know who that is.
Well, they
You know
have
what
it
I
in
mean?
Elijah Mitchell, but the dude can't stay healthy.
No. Yeah.
He's good on the outside. He just can't stay healthy.
He's better north and south.
Well,
I think he picks a better hole, and when he picks a better hole, he goes farther. So I think he's better north and south. And I think, personally, I'd rather go north and south.
I agree.
And then let my gadget players, like my Rays, my Debos, let them take the lateral movement to the to the outside edges to instead of the backs. Or you can, like Debo when they brought him back in that I formation type and they run him like off tackle. That was a great play. It was a great play. So I like stuff like that. But I think instead of being all fancy up front, let's just get our hat on one guy and let's win a battle and push somebody and just open up a gap. I really don't. If you're a good enough offensive line, you don't necessarily have to have run plays. The running back could just figure out which gap he's going to go through and play with the linebackers. You know what I'm saying? By ducking to one side and then cutting back through the one he wants to go through. So, yeah.
And to David's McNiner's question, it says, do we trade up to take a right tackle? I don't know. I don't want to get your guys' thoughts, but I don't think the Niners will trade up specifically for a right tackle. I'm not saying they're not going to move up, but you would have to move up to at least the second round to get a decent right tackle. And how much of that would you have to give to get there? I don't think it's just the value is there to move up that high.
Yeah, I was going to link this in with, because John Lynch was asked about if Colton was the guy at right tackle. And John Lynch had said Colton's the guy right now, but that they had just brought in veteran Matt Pryor to compete, and that there might, be other competition there as well. So, I was happy to hear that at least they weren't just saying that Colton was the guy, that, that's who they were going with, that at least there will be competition, and, it'll be interesting to see if they do make a move and draft somebody there.
If I'm the Niners, I'm probably going to spend about 3 draft picks on tackle this year. And I know that sounds crazy, but I might need a right tackle next year. I might also need a left tackle next year. And if I go 3 in the draft, I might get 1 good player. I might get 1 average player, and I might get 1 that's not worth anything. You know what I mean? So that's the way I look at it. I know I'm going to need a really good tackle in a couple of years. And if I can get 1 cheap now and sit him behind Trent Williams and let him learn, oh boy, it'll be a lot cheaper. And I'll be able to do more with the draft capital I have then. You know what I mean? Instead of then like a first round pick on a left tackle, if I've already got my left tackle, that it was a 4th or a 5th round pick, then I'm goody. What do I need now? I can go tight end. I can go wide receiver. I can go defensive end. Got a lot of options there. So planning now for the tackle position for the future, I think could really pay off. Like Beto was bringing up the stats. The guys from the 5th round to the 7th, they've had 1 7th rounder that didn't make it.
Yep.
Can you believe that? That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that every other team is just like, this guy might work. And then they just don't think about it. And 49ers are like, who do we got in the room? Let's just make sure. Let's check everybody. You know what I mean? Other people, they're not caring about other people's film because they're 7th rounder. This guy won't make it. He's just a 7th rounder. 49ers like, who do we got in the room? Let's make sure they're it or they're not.
Yep.
Yeah.
Feliciano, I like him too. I like him. I like that pickup. I don't know too much about Matt Pryor. To be honest,
Yeah,
seems-
me either.
He seems a little ornery. He doesn't seem like he's like one of them jerk offensive linemen, but he seems like he's got some spirit in him. And he likes to push people around, and that's
he's a
good.
bully guy. Oh, I like that.
Well, he's not really a bully, but he's like one of those guys that's like, I got to prove my point.
Well,
You know what I mean?
excuse me.
Like,
I miss those maulers. Remember Davis and Lupati?
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Upati. Oh gosh. Offensive lineman, if you could be a nice guy when you talk in the thing, and then you just vicious on that line, I love you so much. You know what I mean? Those are the guys that are just like waiting all week to take their aggression out on somebody, and they're being nice and they're opening up doors for everybody and this and that, and they're
Yep.
just waiting for the whistle to blow, baby.
It's like they put on their Superman cape.
Yep.
During
Yep.
game time. Steve
It's like-
Wallace and what's his name? Randy Cross were like that. They were very gentle. And man, I'm not Randy Cross, Jesse Zapolo.
Yeah.
And to this day, Jesse Zapolo is still that one guy that is really kind. But man, you put him on the field, watch out.
Well, look at Javon Kinlaw. He sounds so timid when he talks. He's very, quiet and underspoken and this and that. But you look at him on the field and you're like, man, that man's a terror. No, that's just what he's on in between the whistles. That's what the other time he's just chilling. He's relaxed.
Kinlaw?
You know what I mean?
Yeah, do you say
No,
Kinlaw?
Javon. Javon.
Yeah, you
Hargrave.
said
But you
Kim.
say Kinlaw.
Did I say Kinlaw?
Yeah.
You said
Oh,
Javon.
God.
Kinlaw.
I'm like,
Javon.
you lost me there. I'm
Yeah.
Oh, my
I'm like,
bad.
okay.
See, it's
Other than
causing
him-
problems. I'm getting the Javon wrong, but somehow the
other than
Kinlaw's
him
coming through it.
spitting things out of his mouth. I mean, if he can get it
I'm like, is
quarterbacks
he
with his
telling a
spit,
Joker?
yeah.
Oh
I'm like,
my gosh.
you saw Grant
Like-
Cohn with wipers.
Like, you think you would have presence of mind just to like spit it out real quick and get your point across. And he was just like, let me just fumble with all this crap in my mouth while I don't know.
Crap in your
Just
mouth.
don't wear hats around him. He's a beast.
Yeah. We're gonna take off the helmets.
Remember his-
quarterbacks and put helmet.
Remember his
hats on.
video? His hype video he put out?
Yeah. You saw those cat? They should make a video where you see caps flying, like when how
Yeah.
he does that, and then they should animate
Oh.
caps flying back and forth. That'll be
You're
hilarious.
gonna make me do that.
You know what I thought was hilarious? That the very first and ever videos that we've ever seen from Kinlaw actually working out with like a trainer, right? Like the other ones that we've seen from him, he was chasing and eating squirrels and like weird shit, right? Like the ones that we've actually seen from him, like working on his craft with a trainer, came out the same weekend that the 49ers trade for Javon Hargrave.
Motivation does crazy things, doesn't it? when you're like, oh, I'm a first round pick, but now you're like, oh shit, my job is I'm not even going to be a
Yep.
starter.
The writing's been on the wall for 3 years now, bud.
Mhm.
He's going to be a journalist.
If you're surprised by this, you can't read a room.
Freaking
Yeah, the 49ers just announced that they're working on doing joint practices with the Raiders in Vegas prior to the preseason game with the Raiders. So hopefully they'll be open to the public. I told TL that if so, we're going to try to go to the
Oh.
preseason game because hopefully it won't be outrageous like the regular season tickets
Kiddo
were.
can go and hug Jimmy once again. Hi, Jimmy.
Fred Warner pick off Jimmy 5 times in practice.
Yeah.
Hopefully they will be open to the practice. I mean, to the public. Actually get to reap
you
the
would think so,
benefits.
especially with the whole Jimmy G scenario.
Yeah.
I know why the Raiders got rid of Darren Waller.
Why?
They're going to be drafting a whole bunch of linebackers for wide receivers.
Oh wow. Yep. Yeah. Forget about the tight end. Get a linebacker.
Forget about them. No need. Talk about 100%er, baby. Completion. Oh, Jimmy, that was the wrong linebacker. That was their linebacker, Jimmy. Thought we had you set throwing to our linebackers. See, now you would have known that would have been true if the rule change today was wide receivers get to wear 40s and 50s numbers.
No shit. Jimmy's already doing that in his head.
The players are going out with like pieces of black tape, messing up their number.
You can see Devontae Adams wear a 47. He's like, I don't like this number, but if I can get passes from this guy, I'll take it. I feel bad for Devontae.
Wasn't it
Have fun with
Tom
them
Brady
screens.
that complained after the number changes that now he couldn't be telling the difference when it's offense and defense out there?
Yeah, I think so. And that's hilarious because
Like you're supposed
if
to be the
it's the
greatest
number
quarterback of all time.
and not the color of the jersey.
Yeah. Jimmy.
Ooh. I remember one time I got a buddy who's colorblind. And I was like, David, that's crazy. I was like, how do you know when to go at the stop sign? And he goes, red, yellow, green. He's like, I can't see what color it is, but I could see that it lights up.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's
that
crap.
would be terrible.
So
I was like,
black. But in the
I was
position.
like, oh.
Yeah.
I
That's
was
crazy.
like, oh, that makes sense now.
Oh, yeah.
They
He
say
used
Yeah, I
to
never
always-
thought about that.
They say
He used
dogs
to
are
have to take
colorblind,
people
but I don't think
shopping
so.
because blue looked like, or pink looked like blue to him. So he always had
wow.
to have somebody around to make sure his stuff wasn't pink.
Yeah, that'd suck. Yeah, Devontae Adams, man. You
When
go
he does
from
best, it's not going to get it from Jimmy.
from being the best wide receiver, you know, in freaking the NFL with, you know, the MVP 2 years in a row, MVP quarterback 2 years in a row, to having Jimmy G as your quarterback.
Yep.
Wait, I got scenario just popped into my head. Jimmy G really sucks it up for the first half of the season. Trey does all right, right? Brock Purdy comes back. We trade Brock Purdy to the Raiders for the better Jimmy. You know, it's because, you know, you want the better Jimmy. Here's Brock Purdy, right? And you give us, you know, your draft capital. There we go. I'm joking.
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens to both these guys. Sam Darnold could be our starting quarterback next year. Like not next season, but the season after that. You know what I mean? Like,
Or the undrafted quarterback we draft this year, or undrafted that we take, he might freaking caught.
I don't know. You could be right about that undrafted thing. They might do that just to make it so nobody would think about taking them off of the practice squad.
Yep.
But at the same time, you got so many picks.
But I agree on the necessarily tackle, but they need to get linemen.
Yeah.
And
Well, how many
definitely with
guards do we already have? Every year we take like 2 guards. Guards can go to center, but guards don't make good tackles.
No. Oh, excuse me. I think
That's- Sorry.
what's his name? Sakal might be one that can move from guard to tackle though.
That's what I'm saying. You don't, especially the way we're looking at going. The way we're looking at going, we want a big, thick boy. You know what I mean? We want somebody who's thick and can move his
Just
leg
the
a little
opposite
bit.
of freaking Mike McClinchy.
Yes. Yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah,
dude, he can toss backwards like that.
I don't care if you're 6'9". I really don't. Give me a 6'5" thick boy. I don't care. Just as long as his get back is good and he can push someone forward, we're good. That's all I need.
Well, taller or skinnier guys is worse because you can get your arms underneath them and push
Yep.
and use their own height against them.
Oh, I know. When I played, I was essentially a tall, skinny guy. You know what I mean? You have to get your leverage right before you even engage with somebody, or else you're screwed. You can't have your leverage wrong before you get in the distance of someone's hands to put out. You know what I mean? You cannot be too high in the saddle, or else you're just going to get pushed back. Like, especially on the line, you get put on what's called your roller skates, because essentially you
Yep.
get pushed back, and the only way to stay up is by keep running backwards. And what that
Yep.
does is push you back into your quarterback. So what they tell you to do normally is to just fall down at that point and try and become a pile.
Yep.
And you don't want that to be your number one move. So you need to learn how to get your leverage.
Yeah, they
You don't
couldn't
want to
move my
become a
ass with
pile of
tow
shit.
truck. Yeah, you don't want to pile. Yeah, you don't want to pile of Javon Kinlaw.
Joe
I was also
trying to make us trying to make our lives more miserable, I think. I bet we end up with Cousins and Darnold. Like,
Oh,
why would you
wow.
want to wish that upon us? That's so rude.
I could,
Fighting
hey,
for the starting position.
couldn't you see the Minnesota Vikings going, hey, you want Kirk Cousins? We like Trey. Remember they
yeah,
did that whole thing when
Vikings
Trey went
want
up there?
Trey. Like, that's where Trey's from, is Minnesota. Like, they want Trey there.
And
the Minnesota fans like Trey Lance a lot more than the 49er fans do.
I just want to see all these quarterbacks. Well, I don't really care about Sam Darnold. I'm not really, attached to him at the moment, but I would like to see him work with Brian Greasy and figure some things out. You know what I mean? But I would like to see Brock and Purdy get the best shake that they can get. You know what I mean? Truly. And from the deepest part of my heart, I'm telling you, I don't hate anybody. I don't this or that. I love my Niners. I just want, this is a bad situation Trey's been put in. This is not necessarily a good situation that Brock was brought into. He's made it a good situation for himself. That doesn't mean it will continue. And if it doesn't continue, that can turn into a really bad situation, especially in a place like San Francisco, as far as the media and as we are concerned, me, you, and the people in the chat. So that's why, this is tough. And they're the 49ers as a front office, I think, are handling it horribly.
I think we should just go and get Adam Sandler from The Waterboy and bring him in.
Hey, Tony.
He wasn't the quarterback. He was a linebacker.
Oh, was he? Oh no, where was it where he was a quarterback? He played a quarterback on one of the movies.
Oh, that was the one where they're criminals.
Yeah, that one. Or even Burt Reynolds.
Shout out to Joey Diaz is in there. Remember?
Yeah,
I'm looking at the comments. I'm like, where? But the actor,
Joey Diaz.
Exactly.
Well, the comedian. Oh gosh, love talking to him or listening to him talk. Sorry, I've never spoken to Joe Diaz.
I was like, dang, bro.
He thinks that's his friend.
Oh, bro, I'd probably still be laughing.
Your neighbor's
probably non-audible.
He's there at your house.
Okay. Have you heard the stories about him in the Catholic school?
No.
Okay, so this is a treat. If anybody wants to hear some crazy comedy, I'm guessing it's a real story, or at least it was around a real story. It's called "I Can't Believe This Is Happening," and just look up. I can't believe this is happening, and it's Joey Diaz. And there's a couple of them. There's one about his mom getting a taxi cab driver beat up. Oh, it's so amazing. There's so many crazy stories he had on there, but I think it's like 4 or 5. But they're crazy. Check out Joey Diaz.
I don't know why it sounds like you're having an orgasm when you're saying, "Oh, his mom, oh, his mom is so amazing. Oh, his mom, like what the."
He found her dead while he was high on acid, and I think at the age of 13.
And that gets you hard.
Yeah.
No, I'm not aroused at all.
No,
it's if you hear the story, you will. You'll
get aroused too.
She wigs out on this cab driver because he took the wrong way, right? And she was like serious about going to baseball, and she was like on a time schedule. She told him the route. He deviated from the route. It's game on. So she's like fighting the dude. Something happens where she's wearing rings or something. Like she gets like blood on her hands somehow. She calls up her boyfriend because she takes the cab driver's keys and tosses them. He can't find it. He's trying to figure out what's going on. She calls her boyfriend, tells him this guy's beating me, and she like wipes the blood on her face, right? And so her boyfriend comes down. He's talking, not, it's his stepfather. It's Joey Diaz's stepfather, and he's like a real good dude, but he's just heard his girlfriend's been beat up by this guy. This poor cab driver gets knocked out in the street with his homeboy. The cop comes over, and his stepfather, who could barely speak English, is dealing with this cop, and he said, "No, the guy's fine. He fine." And the cops just walk away after this. The guy has just had his keys to his cab thrown. He's laying, doesn't even know what the hell's going on. Been beat to death almost. And Joey Diaz's mom said she used to run the numbers in like the borough. So she was like a Cuban mafioso lady, kind of, the numbers runner. So he's
Miriah,
got some crazy stories.
Are you gonna unmute him? All right, unmute him. No, just kidding.
So should I start over?
No, please no. We heard it. It was hard to
Please no. No. I don't have enough uppers.
Kid asks, do you think we draft a tight end early in the draft? So I'm gonna say, since we only have our earliest picks are round 3, we'll say that's early. Do you think we draft a tight end round 3?
That's an interesting question. Wow. I don't think so. I think the Niners will probably draft one in the 5th round. But if that guy Allen is there from Clemson, or the other guy, I forgot his name, but I don't think so. I don't. Yeah, I don't. But other than that, I think they'll just go and take someone in the 5th round.
I think we should. The reason being is, I think with a good tight end.
No. Like that's not what he said. He said, "Do they? Not should they?"
Right. And I'm thinking they do. And the reason being,
don't become the cab driver, and I'll become that his mom right now.
I'm gonna wipe the blood all over your face.
Miriah over to defend me.
Oh, you got to watch that story. This is not happening, Joey Diaz.
Okay, I'm sorry, Miriah. I brought it back up. I should have done it. My fault.
If we can get a guy who could be good in the passing game and could do mid-level blocking,
that would be nice. Did you really block him? Oh my goodness! I'm like, peace.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, right on cue.
Look, you don't know. He's looking around like, what?
Well, something also dropped in the house somewhere.
Yeah.
Where was I?
That vibrating.
That was my friend back there. I told you to throw something at your ass.
Where was I at before you muted me?
Is that the crackhead next door that threw something through your window?
No, it's probably the cats jumping on something.
You have cats?
Idea what it is.
You said,
So where was I?
You have cats?
I don't personally.
Oh, okay.
The neighbors do.
So it's not your pussy.
Oh, anyway, so the 22 personnel, I think if we can get a tight end that can actually block and can work in the passing game, I think it'll be more deadlier than our 21 personnel. When you spread everybody out 4 wide, you're talking about being able to take advantage of them trying to get big to stop the run and then spreading them out, mismatching all over the field, linebackers on fast tight ends. And I think that could be more deadly.
Doesn't he become a receiver?
But
if you spread a tight end, doesn't he become a receiver?
Yes. Are you just trying to be funny? I was just no. Asking a question?
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. So when you're talking about you're bringing in the 22 personnel, the guy upstairs on the defense goes 22 personnel, and that usually might mean, okay, we need an extra defensive tackle in there, or we need to take out a DB and bring in a linebacker, right? And so then when you don't do any substitutions at that point and then spread everybody out, now you've got that big, huge defense to deal with that run now spread out, and everybody in that 22 personnel would be a receiver. You know what I mean? Chris McCaffrey, Kyle Juszczyk, anybody. They could split them out. Now you've got, bigger linebackers or even a defensive lineman on somebody out in space, causing mismatch. And that's what I'm saying. It could be even more deadly than our 21 personnel. And you're talking about just being able to sub one guy out for another. You know what I mean? You could move one guy in. Okay, bring the heavies back in.
What's up, 49
Hey, media.
No. Yeah. No, I hear you. That it's always nice that that's the whole New England model back when they had Aaron Hernandez and Gronk playing together. The things that the mismatches they were to opposing defenses was fun to watch. Until somebody decided to go and kill his boyfriend.
And you should be able to run the same plays out of that formation with that same person, with that different personnel, by mixing in the new wide receiver, because then you just count him as a wide receiver in the 21 personnel, which I'm sure he can run the same route. So it's
hey,
really
JV.
plug and play.
What's up,
John?
Hope you had a good show. Did you see that Aaron Hernandez's brother, I think it was, threw a brick this weekend through the ESPN or the NFL, something through one of their studios?
Really? No.
Yeah, with a note attached to it, like saying like pretty much like they should watch, like the stories they release because it affects the family members, of the victim, of the people that they're writing it about, and then signs his name to it. So they found him, and he gets arrested. Like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Yeah.
The Hernandez's family doesn't run really.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my
They didn't go to Princeton or Stanford, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Throw a rock and you leave your name on there.
Yo.
Where was his brother? Where was his brother to stop him from doing all the bad things he did that got him locked up and made him commit suicide in the first place?
Come on, really?
He was throwing
I'm
bricks
just
at
saying.
him.
I'm just saying, you're gonna throw bricks about. No, but like you could do things like
what? Hang out with your brother 24/7?
House.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be around my brother 24/7.
No, I know. Look, I get that. Who was it? Didn't Debo Samuel's brother get in trouble? The moment that guy came out, he was like stuck at home with his mom and this and that. And it was like, you better be good because you're not messing up. Look at him now. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but I'm saying you can be like, look, brother, you know what I mean? Like, it's me or the streets. Which one do you want? You know what I mean? Like this family.
But if the guy that is making the error are making more money than the guy that is not, that's tough to do. Because Aaron's the one that's making the trouble, but he's the one that has the mansion. The brother didn't. So it's like, if it was reversed, I can see that happening. But
so wealth is more than family?
I'm sorry?
Wealth is more than family?
If you feel invincible, you feel like no matter, you can do whatever you want because you're invincible because of the money. From that perspective.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Look at what's his name in the NBA that just got suspended and all that shit for showing the guns and
Oh my gosh.
He's hanging out with his dad 99% of the time doing all this shit.
What about the other guy that was like, I shot somebody. He just flashed it. I shot somebody. Do what you want.
But what I'm saying
is,
you see that guy? That guy's hanging around his family 99% of the time, and his family's not stopping him from doing any of this bad shit that he's out doing because he's the one with all the money.
You're responsible for yourself as an adult. You
John Morant.
Yeah, John Morant. You got to be there's consequence to each decision. You got to make. You got to pay up. You can be raised the right way. I've been. I'm always like to hear about serial killers and how much how they were raped and and hurt and beat up as kids. Some of them came from very good families.
Yes.
And just still decide to do what they wanted to do. What's his name? Not Humphrey. Adon. The whole series that came out on Netflix. What's his name? Jeffrey
Dahmer.
Yeah, he came from a good family. I mean, they weren't married, but everybody has divorced parents. but they were pretty much racing the right way. He even said it
I'm
himself.
so glad he's gone.
He even said he didn't do it out of hate.
I'm sure.
He did it
He
because
was trying to get off. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I mean. So it's just the individual, man. You can be raised right. I seen kids that are raised. They come from really bad, broken families and become really great men and women in society.
Yeah.
It's not nature or nurture. It's probably a combination of both, and it depending on how your brain is wired, it more or less, you know what I mean, of something will probably cause it. You know what I mean? Like if you're not wired as well as other people, it might take less to turn you to something. I watched a documentary one time, and the guy was he did brain scans on a lot of the serial killers, right? And he found things in common. So as he was, checking he's doing brain scans for his family to see if there's cancer or anything like that. He found one of the people in his family had one of them serial killer brains. And so he went and tried them all again. Yep, serial killer brain. When he figured out who it was, it shocked him. It was him.
Oh, wow.
And he said, "Hey, I just found this out, what do you guys think?" Talking to people who know him in life. And they're like, "Well, we've always known you to be kind of that way, but you're harmless." You know what I mean? Like
you don't run on their impulses, and others do.
And he said, I think I have to bring that. I have to go back to my childhood because I had a beautiful childhood. I had a wonderful, happy childhood. And I think if I was raised in any other way, I could see how my thought process could be changed. And it's like, oh, okay.
Crazy. Kid, I definitely think so. I'm a huge fan of Ball since we drafted him. I definitely am expecting Ball to ball this season.
Well, I wasn't hesitant to see Aziz go. I was happy that he was going to go get his shot, and there will be a little bit of a drop off, but I think over a little bit of time we'll see. I think within a year he'll be up to Aziz's par. You know what I mean? You're not. He needs like real experience. That's, I think, the only thing he's lacking. I think a season will do it.
All right, fam. We're on Beto's channel next week, correct?
No, I believe is it Ryan's or is it mine?
Yeah, it's mine.
Okay.
Okay. So we're on Ryan's channel next Tuesday at 6 Pacific time. So make sure that you're subscribed to each of our channels, that you find us over there next week. We're going to get out of here because we've been here almost 2 hours. We appreciate each of you that stopped by, that spent some time with us. We appreciate each of you that contributed to the comments, questions, all of that good stuff. And yeah, any closing thoughts before we get out of here, fellas?
Thank everybody for showing up and all your support. And like Drunk Niner fan says, tell a friend, to be a friend and a friend.
But don't drink alone.
Never.
All right.
That's shit's depressing, especially when it's raining.
Appreciate y'all. We'll see you guys next week. We're out of here.
Sayonara.